Well, it's that time again. That time when we decide and ask, Cedar Point, will it suck this next year? And I'm the only one who can give that answer. So, today, we're going to talk about it. I hope you're ready. I hope you're excited. Let's go. Sorry for the angle change. I had to change it. My belly was atrocious in that angle. So we're going to talk today, though, about Cedar Point and about what it's going to be like in 2025. And I do have a list, a litany, if you will, of grievances against Cedar Point because I keep that list on my phone 100% of the time because I be petty. So let's talk about Cedar Point. First of all, before we get started, I want you guys to tell me down below, what do you think Cedar Point is going to be like this coming year? Is it going to be good or be it bad? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. And back up your answer, show your work. Tell me why it's going to be bad this year or why it's going to be good. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. And maybe you can help me and other people down in the comments also think about Cedar Point in a different way than maybe we do. So let's go. Now, first of all, and possibly most serious on this list is the discussion of pay for the workers at Cedar Point. Some of the union workers actually get paid pretty decently, but if you're just paid by Cedar Point and you are one of their ride ops, things like that, around 2020, the amount that people got paid to be at Cedar Point, partly even because it was a little bit hazardous to be there at the time, was $20. And it has since gone down while everything else has risen to the point where it's kind of difficult to maintain a life and be able to work at Cedar Point. Now, not everybody who works at Cedar Point, works there full time. Sometimes it's a part-time thing. Sometimes you're a teacher during the school year and then you work at Cedar Point during the summer for just a little bit of extra income. I understand those things, but I do think that people working at Cedar Point should still be making a living wage for the time while they're working there. And I don't think that Cedar Point or Cedar Fair Six Flags has provided that kind of thing to their workers. So this year it has gone back down to $15, which I really hate for the workers. And I hate it for us too, because we are putting our lives in the hands of these people. Clearly Cedar Point could pay more and did pay more, but unfortunately, once again, the stockholders win out. And that is really too bad because the most important thing for Cedar Point or any amusement park to continue to be a successful amusement park is to have a reputation of safety and of cleanliness and of being able to come to the place that you want to go and still feel reasonably sure that you will be able to leave that place a whole person again. And unfortunately, it feels like maybe they are putting less emphasis on making sure that the people who are taking care of the people who come to their parks are provided for and taken care of and are safe and are also happy and motivated and willing to continue doing their absolute best because Cedar Point really takes care of them. And instead, they're more concerned about their bottom line, not for the people who come to Cedar Point, but for the people who pay for Cedar Point, I guess, in the form of stockholders through Six Flags. So that is a problem. Now, I'm not talking against the merger with that. I'm just simply saying it's less about the bottom line, or it should be less about the bottom line and more about the guest experience, because the guests are the ones who create that bottom line for Cedar Point. So in other words, Cedar Point, I'm saying pay your people $20 or pay your people $25 an hour while they're in the park, because we are putting our literal lives in their hands. And maybe pay your CEOs less because we're not putting our literal lives in the CEO's hands. Another and very serious matter that we are going to discuss also is strained foreign relations. And by foreign, I'm not talking about across the world even. I'm not even talking about Europe. I'm talking about our brothers and sisters to the north of us, who definitely feel strained and also feel a little bit unsafe with Cedar Point, or not with Cedar Point, but with America and Americans in general at this point. So that is really a problem also, partly because you do have people who are working at Cedar Point who are Canadians, but also not just that, but they are also coming to Cedar Point. I mean, Cedar Point is a stone's throw away from Canada. It's not very difficult to get down here from Canada. So why? I don't know. I'm not going to try to make it political. We're just having a lot of problems with having good relations with Canada at this point, and that is unfortunate. And if you are someone who, has problems with Canadians at this point, then that should probably be a problem, I think, because the Canadian people have done nothing. They don't deserve vandalism or to fear for themselves when they're here in the States. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I also do have my friend Andrew, and I know he's expressed concern, and I think a lot of Canadians are in that spot right now, and definitely is something that I think we should care about as Americans at this point. My third bullet point is Top Thrill 2. Will it come up? I am still concerned about whether it's going to come up. I do see a lot of publications and a lot of press and a lot of things that say, Top Thrill 2 is on the move. It's doing great things. I haven't seen anybody talk about if it's testing or not. If it is, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to find links or something like that if you guys have them for shorts where it shows that it's been testing over these winter months. I haven't seen that specifically yet. I'm not saying it has to happen yet. I mean, they've already tested it, and they did a lot of stuff during the main season. But they need these, whatever they need for right now. So it's obviously more important that they create the new, again, whatever they need to, like the new cars or whatever it is, to be able to make this thing run successfully. But I do have concern that it's not going to work. And then we're going to have yet one more year of disappointment from Top Thrill 2 and from Cedar Point altogether. So that does concern me definitely at Cedar Point for this year. The next problem is that Siren's Curse is not going to be opening till the summer, leaving an entire gap of Cedar Point that is frustratingly empty. So we'll see if something does actually happen in there. Obviously, this is pretty predicated on Top Thrill 2. If Top Thrill 2 opens, then it's great, but otherwise, you'll just have a whole swath of the year that really has nothing new in it. And that could be a problem. So we'll see what happens with that. And of course, also, Cedar Point doesn't have a stage this year. There's no main stage anywhere. That is the saddest thing I've ever heard of. Of course Cedar Point is going to suck this year, right? Of course not right. No, Cedar Point is not going to suck this year. Actually, it's kind of funny because this year is the first year since 2021 or something like that where I've really felt like, wow, Cedar Point's going to be awesome this year. Like even in 2021, I thought, well, they're going to have a lot more procedures still for COVID and all that kind of stuff. It's just going to really make the year difficult. That year ended up being absolutely fantastic. This is the first year coming into the season when I'm feeling like, wow, Cedar Point has their act together. They've been listening to people. The way that they actually made the lockers free for Top Thrill 2, definitely a plus, definitely a win. As long as Top Thrill 2 does come up, I will predicate it on that. The lack of a huge stage is very much offset by Boardwalk Nights and the filling of multiple theaters throughout Cedar Point this year. Definitely a cool thing. The new coaster Yes, it will be opening later on, but hopefully Top Thrill 2 will be open. And even if Top Thrill 2 is not open at that point, they learned their lesson from last year. Last year, the only thing that they had going on was Top Thrill 2. It was on their merch, it was on their advertising. It was like you couldn't walk into the park and not be reminded that this lawn ornament was supposed to be something exciting for the year. And instead, they this year have really created a vibrant experience. It just seems like they have new things that they're doing all over the place. Having this expanded Boardwalk Nights happening, which Boardwalk Nights already I don't think was supposed to be nearly as good as it was. First of all, I think it was beefed up because Top Thrill 2 was such a disappointment. But even at that, they're still beefing it up again for this year. They're also adding additional shows to just the main lineup for this year in placement of this massive stage that they had last year and several years before that, that they do not have this year. I believe pretty much without a shadow of a doubt that Siren's Curse is going to be running no matter what. I think it'll be a great thing. And maybe even they'll have like a Siren's Curse type themed, either a walkthrough attraction or some sort of a mini show or something like that that they could do at Cedar Point for Halloween weekends. Of course, it's way too early for speculation about that at this point, but there's a lot of cool things that I think Cedar Point has planned for this year. I mean, it's very clear that they have a lot of cool things planned for this year. Also, beefing up some of their food areas, especially the fries. The Happy Fryer is going to be expanded big time for this year too. I just think Cedar Point is doing some great things. Now, that being said, they do still have their problems. We have a problem as a country as far as our relationship with Canada. That's not Cedar Point's problem, but it will affect Cedar Point and the overall experience that we have, whether that comes down to having fewer people in the park or it comes down to having fewer workers in the park. And also on top of that, paying your people not well enough and not being able to get enough people to come to Cedar Point to actually want to be a part of the experience of working for Cedar Point is a problem because they rely on workers and we rely on workers for a good experience. If Cedar Point decides to hire fewer people than they need to because those people will not come out for $15, then that is a real issue on the point of Cedar Point. If they are still able to hire people, then okay, great. Like, I'm glad they want to work for $15 an hour at Cedar Point. And like I said, not everybody working at Cedar Point is trying to make a living off of Cedar Point. Often they are, like I said, they have other jobs, or maybe even they're a parent of a family that already has an income, which means then they can leave so they can go, do a little bit of just some fun work to work at Cedar Point normally, or just in the summer, seasonally. I guess I'll say that, seasonally. So those things are things that people have. Of course, we also have foreign exchange students coming in, and sometimes there's more that people get out of the experience than just the money that they're getting to. So I'm not going to really be completely harsh on Cedar Point with that. Like I said, I'm very excited about this year. But if Cedar Point doesn't have enough people and they refuse to pay them more, then yes, I'm going to be very harsh about that, because that's ridiculous at that point. That means they are then prioritizing the experience of their stockholders above the people who actually pay their stockholders. And that's a problem. Above the people who actually make the experience happen, and above the people like us who actually enjoy the experience and pay to be at the experience, meaning they're actually paying the stockholders. So yeah, be better, Cedar Point. If it's a problem, then be better. We'll see what actually happens. However, if people are not working and Cedar Point reevaluates their pay structure, I think that's honestly maybe the only way that Cedar Point will, or Cedar Fair will, actually reevaluate their pay structure, and that actually could be a really good thing to have fewer people working, because it will be a wake-up call to Cedar Point and to Six Flags. However, even if all of the above mentioned points that I talked about at the very beginning do come true for this year, I do think that Cedar Point season 2025 is going to be a fantastic season just altogether. There's a lot of variety, there's a lot of excitement, there's multiple coasters. We've got a lot of cool things happening for us for 2025, and I'm very excited to be there. Of course, I mean, I'm always very excited to be there, so I can't wait to actually be a part of that and to see what's going on. But I do first have a Disney trip that I'm leaving on tomorrow, so we're gonna be a part of that. And I also have the opening day of Kings Island coming up in just like a week and a half, something like that. So if you have not checked out my Kings Island planning video, please go check that one out, and go check out and be a part of Kings Island for this coming season. I think it's going to be very exciting also. Like I said, please let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I love to hear from you guys, even if your opinions are different than mine. And every opinion or every like that you give on one of my videos really, really helps out this channel and helps more people to find this channel also. Also, press that subscribe button, like button. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers desperately, but also I am just so thankful for those of you who are here and are watching and are having some fun with us. I'm so excited about this theme park season. So you guys have a great night, and let's go. Hey, thanks for watching. I release theme park related videos at least a couple times a week, so press that subscribe button if you made it this far. Also, check out similar videos in the playlist to the right or find my newest video to the left. Thanks again, and let's go!